Captain Elias Corrin had seen the vastness of space, fought in the trenches of alien wars, and brokered peace treaties with species that had once considered humans beneath notice, but never, in all his years of service, had he faced a challenge like this. The Threxians were a race of warriors, standing over 8 feet tall, their musculature designed for battle, their culture honed through centuries of conflict. To them, humans were small and fragile, often clever but rarely respected. Diplomacy between humanity and the Threxians had been teetering on a knife's edge for months. Every attempt to strengthen the alliance had failed. Until Elias made his audacious offer. He stood in the grand chamber of the Threxian Council, his human frame dwarfed by the towering alien diplomats. Their skin shimmered a faint green under the chamber's lights, their eyes cold and calculating. At the head of the room sat Erdeva Kar, their leader and the fiercest warrior among them. Her reputation was legendary commander of the Threxian fleets, undefeated in battle. She was also the one Elias had proposed to. "The human dares," the Kar said, her voice a low, guttural sound that echoed through the chamber. Her eyes, golden and intense, focused on the man who stood before her. "You offer yourself as a bond to our people. Do you understand the magnitude of your words?" Elias met her gaze, unflinching. "I do. If it means forging a lasting peace between our species, I am willing to do whatever it takes." A murmur ran through the Threxian Council, disbelief mixed with amusement. No human had ever dared to approach their kind in such a way. Interspecies relationships were not unheard of in the Galactic Council, but none had ever involved a Threxian and a human. Their biology alone made it nearly impossible, and their warrior pride kept them from considering any race as a worthy partner. But Elias was not one to back down from the impossible. The Kar rose from her seat, stepping forward. Her presence was overwhelming. She towered over him, her body rippling with strength. Yet there was something more behind her hardened exterior: curiosity, perhaps even respect. "You are bold," she said, her voice softer now, though no less commanding. "But boldness alone will not be enough. To mate with a Threxian is to accept a challenge far greater than any you have faced before." Elias allowed a small smile to touch his lips. "I've faced long odds before." Her eyes narrowed, as if weighing his words. Then, she turned to the council. "If this human is willing to make such a sacrifice, then perhaps he is worthy of our consideration, but he will have to prove himself." The room fell silent. The Kar stepped closer to Elias, her gaze piercing. "A bond with a Threxian is not just one of the body, it is of the spirit, of the heart. You will face trials, human, and if you survive, only then will we consider you worthy." Elias nodded. "I understand." The trials began the following day. Elias found himself in the heart of the Threxian training grounds, surrounded by warriors twice his size, their expressions skeptical, almost mocking. The first trial was one of endurance. He would have to survive a hunt on the Threxian homeworld, a planet teeming with predators as formidable as the Threxians themselves. Elias knew he wasn't as strong as the Threxians. He didn't have their size or their raw power, but he had something else: ingenuity. He used the terrain to his advantage, setting traps, outsmarting the beasts that roamed the forests. By the end of the trial, he was battered and bruised, but alive, and more importantly, he had earned the quiet respect of the warriors who had watched him. The second trial was one of combat. He would have to face a Threxian warrior in single combat. They allowed him a weapon, a blade, forged in their fires, but even armed, the odds were against him. His opponent was relentless, each blow of their sword threatening to break him. But Elias didn't need to win, he just needed to survive. He parried, dodged, and deflected, using every ounce of his agility and speed. He fought not to overpower but to outlast. By the end, he was still standing, barely, but standing nonetheless. The final trial was the hard stone of the spirit. It wasn't something physical, it was something deeper. He was taken to the sacred caverns, where the Kar herself met him. "In this place, we confront our true selves," she explained. "If you are to be my mate, I must see the strength of your spirit." Elias didn't fully understand what was about to happen, but he trusted his instincts. The cavern was dark, and as soon as he stepped inside, he felt a weight pressed down on him, a psychic force, ancient and powerful. It wasn't a trial of the body, but of the mind. He faced memories of his past, of battles lost, of comrades fallen. He felt the weight of every decision he had ever made, the pain of failure, the fear of death, but he also felt the strength that had carried him through, his love for his people, his desire to protect, to unite. When he emerged from the cavern, the car was waiting. Her expression had softened, just slightly. "You have passed," she said, her voice low. "Few survive the trials, even fewer earn the respect of the council." Elias met her gaze, exhausted but resolute. "And what about you?" The car studied him for a long moment. "You have earned my respect, human, and perhaps more." In the end, Elias Corin became the first human to bond with a Threxian. Their union was a symbol of something greater than either a Theman alliance between species once thought too different to ever truly understand one another. But in the depths of space, where warriors and diplomats alike faced the unknown, it was the boldness of one man that dared to bridge that divide, and in doing so, he changed the fate of two worlds forever. The union of Captain Elias Corin and Commander Vakar sent ripples through the Galactic Council. News of their marriage spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of every species that inhabited the galaxy. Some celebrated the unprecedented bond between human and Threxian, while others scoffed, unable to fathom how such a pairing could ever work. For Elias and Vakar, the initial days were a whirlwind of public appearances and ceremonies. The Threxian Council organized a grand festival to honor their union, a display of cultural pride that left Elias awestruck. He found himself participating in rituals that were foreign yet exhilarating, surrounded by warriors and diplomats, all eager to witness this historic event. As they stood together on a massive stage, Elias could feel the weight of expectation. Vakar, regal and powerful beside him, addressed the crowd, her voice booming like thunder. "Today, we celebrate not just our bond but the unity of our peoples," she declared, her golden eyes shining with fervor. "Together, we shall face the challenges of the universe, stronger than ever before." Elias smiled, his heart swelling with pride. The Threxian warriors roared in approval, their cheers echoing throughout the arena. He knew that this was more than just a union of two individuals. It was the birth of a new alliance that would redefine their place in the galaxy. But beneath the festivities lay simmering tensions. Some factions within the Galactic Council viewed the bond with suspicion. Traditionalists argued that the Threxians were abandoning their heritage, while others, wary of the growing influence of humanity, plotted to undermine the fragile alliance. As weeks passed, rumors of dissent began to circulate. Elias and Vakar found themselves in a precarious position, caught between their desire to unite their peoples and the forces that sought to tear them apart. One evening, while sitting together in their private quarters aboard the Threxian flagship, Vakar leaned forward, her expression serious. "Elias, there are those who would see us fail. They believe our union threatens the Threxian way." Elias sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We knew this wouldn't be easy, but we can't let fear dictate our future. We have to show them that we're stronger together." Vakar nodded, her eyes narrowing with determination. "Then we must take the fight to them. We will hold a summit, invite all factions of the council, let them see what our union truly represents." Elias felt a thrill at her words. A bold move, but it might just work. The summit was scheduled for a month later, hosted on a neutral planet, known for its lush landscapes and vibrant ecosystems. As representatives from various races gathered, Elias felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. Would they be open to change, or would they cling to their outdated beliefs? The day of the summit arrived, and the grand hall was filled with delegates from across the galaxy. The atmosphere buzzed with tension as Elias and Vakar took their places at the head of the table. Vakar began, her voice strong. "We stand at a crossroads. The galaxy is changing, and we must adapt. My union with Captain Corin is a testament to that change, a bridge between our worlds." Elias added, "Together, we can create a future that benefits all our species. We can share knowledge, technology, and resources. Together, we can face the threats that loom on the horizon." As discussions began, it became clear that some delegates were resistant. A particularly vocal Threxian representative, Karak, stood and spoke against their union. "You betray our legacy, Vakar. To mate with a human is to weaken the Threxian spirit." Elias felt the tension rise in the room. "With all due respect, Karak, Our strength lies not just in our bloodlines, but in our capacity for unity. The challenges we face in the galaxy: piracy, environmental decay, war do not discriminate based on species. We must unite against them. The discussions became heated, with voices clashing and accusations flying. But amidst the chaos, Elias and Vakar remained resolute. They shared stories of their trials, emphasizing their growth together and the strength they found in one another. Finally, a delegation from the Vortexiota species known for their intellect rose to speak. Perhaps there is merit in their union. They embody the evolution of our galaxy. If we can adapt, we may find new paths forward. With their support, others began to join in. Slowly, the tide began to shift. The voices of dissenting factions diminished as more representatives spoke in favor of the alliance, recognizing the potential of a united front. As the summit concluded, Elias and Vakar stood together, their hands clasped. They had faced the storm and emerged stronger, but they knew their journey was far from over. In the days that followed, they worked tirelessly to solidify their alliance, forging partnerships that would reshape interspecies relations. They traveled from planet to planet, sharing their story, participating in cultural exchanges, and fostering friendships that transcended the boundaries of their species. Their bond not only strengthened their own peoples, but also began to heal old wounds within the Galactic Council. The other species saw in them a hope for the future, an example of what could be achieved when fear was cast aside in favor of understanding and unity. As they returned to their ship after a successful outreach event, Elias turned to Vakar, a smile spreading across his face. "I think we might just change the galaxy yet." Vakar chuckled, her eyes twinkling with warmth. "Together, we are unstoppable." And in that moment, amidst the stars, they both knew they were more than just a human and a Fexian. They were pioneers of a new era, standing at the forefront of a united galaxy, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. However, not all were pleased with their progress. Whispers of dissent lingered in the shadows, especially among factions that felt threatened by the growing influence of humanity and the bond between their commander and a human. Some of these factions began to conspire, seeking ways to undermine their alliance. One evening, while Elias and Vakar were reviewing the plans for a joint humanitarian mission, the ship's alarms blared, cutting through the quiet. Red lights flashed, casting ominous shadows on the walls. "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships entering the vicinity," the ship's AI, Zara, reported. "They do not match any registered diplomatic vessels." Elias and Vakar exchanged worried glances. "What are their intentions?" Vakar asked, her voice tense. "Unknown, but they're armed and approaching fast," Zara replied. "Defensive measures are advised." "Let's prepare for a potential conflict," Elias said, his heart racing. He turned to Vakar, who had already donned her combat gear. "We need to protect our ship and crew." As the alarms continued to wail, Elias took a deep breath, drawing upon his training. "Zara, initiate defensive protocols. Inform the crew to stand by for battle stations." Vakar nodded, her demeanor shifting into that of a fierce commander. "We will defend our home together." The bridge was alive with activity as the crew scrambled to respond to the threat. Outside the viewport, a fleet of ships loomed, dark and foreboding against the star-speckled backdrop. Their designs were sleek, menacing vessels, known for their ruthlessness. "Identify the lead ship," Elias commanded. "Scanning. It appears to be a vessel of the Krell Syndicate," Zara announced. "They are notorious for raiding trade routes and undermining interspecies relations." "Of course it's the Krell," Elias muttered, frustration boiling within him. "They see our alliance as a threat to their operations. We can't let them get away with this." Vakar's eyes blazed with determination. "We must engage them directly. If we show our strength, we may dissuade them from attacking." Elias nodded, steeling himself, prepared to engage. "Let's show them we're not afraid to defend what we've built." The ship rocked as enemy fire struck its shields. The crew worked frantically, adjusting the ship's shields and returning fire. Elias and Vakar moved as one, issuing commands and coordinating their strategies. "Target their engines," Elias shouted, his voice steady despite the chaos. "If we can disable their ship, we might be able to negotiate." "Firing," Vakar said, her hands stiffly maneuvering the controls. A barrage of plasma bolts shot from their ship, striking the Krell's lead vessel. It shuddered but continued to advance, shields flickering under the assault. Reinforcements are on their way, but we need to hold them off until they arrive, Zero warned. The enemy is attempting to board. Prepare to repel boarders, Elias ordered, grabbing a weapon from the armory. Vakar, take the starboard side. I'll handle the port. Vakar's eyes gleamed with excitement, her Threxian instincts kicking in. Let them come. As the enemy boarded, chaos erupted on the ship. Elias fought alongside his crew, his training from countless battles kicking in as he engaged in close combat. The Krell pirates were fierce and relentless, but Elias found strength in his resolve. He was fighting not just for his life, but for the future he and Vakar were building. Meanwhile, Vakar took down two pirates with her bare hands, her immense strength overwhelming them. Her presence was a beacon of hope in the chaos, rallying the crew around her. Push forward, we will not let them take our ship. Elias fought through the fray, back to back with Vakar as they held the line. We need to push them back to their ship, he shouted, landing a kick that sent a pirate sprawling. On my mark, Vakar yelled, gathering her strength. Nah. With a powerful shove, they sent a wave of enemies crashing back toward the airlock. Where the remaining pirates were still attempting to breach the ship, Elias took advantage of the opening, rallying the crew behind him for a final push. The tide began to turn, and one by one, the Krell pirates fell back, realizing they were outmatched. Elias and Vakar led the charge, their teamwork evident as they fought side by side. With a final surge, they overwhelmed the last of the attackers, sending them scrambling back to their ship. Seal the airlock, Elias commanded, panting but exhilarated. The crew moved swiftly, securing their ship against further incursions. Vakar stood beside him, her breath heavy but her spirit unyielding. We did it, she said, a fierce smile breaking through her warrior facade. Together. Elias nodded, a grin spreading across his face. And now we make sure they don't try this again. The Krell, realizing they had underestimated the strength of the alliance, retreated, their damaged vessels limping away into the depths of space. The victory was hard won, but it sent a clear message to those who sought to undermine their union. Humanity and the Threxians stood strong together. As they surveyed the damage aboard their ship, Zara's voice broke through the commotion. Captain, reinforcements have arrived. They are assisting with repairs and securing the area. Elias felt a wave of relief wash over him. Good work, everyone. Let's get this ship back in shape. Vakar turned to him, her expression serious. We must prepare for potential retaliation. The Krell will not take this lightly. Elias nodded, recognizing the truth in her words. We need to reinforce our defenses and strengthen our alliances. If they come back, we'll be ready. In the days that followed, the aftermath of the battle brought the alliance closer together. The victory over the Krell Syndicate became a rallying point for their cause. Elias and Vakar worked tirelessly, organizing joint military exercises and diplomatic meetings to ensure they were prepared for whatever might come next. As they stood on the bridge one evening, watching the stars streak by, Elias turned to Vakar. We've shown them that we're not just allies in name, we're partners, ready to face any challenge together. Vakar's gaze softened as she looked at him, and together, we will create a legacy that will outlive us. The aftermath of the Krell skirmish solidified the alliance between humanity and the Threxians. News of their joint victory spread across the galaxy, bolstering their reputation as formidable allies. Delegations from various species began reaching out, eager to explore the possibilities of partnership. Elias and Vakar found themselves at the center of a burgeoning movement toward unity among the galaxy's diverse races. They traveled from planet to planet, meeting with ambassadors and leaders, sharing their story, and championing the cause of interspecies cooperation. As their relationship deepened, so too did the challenges they faced. The growing influence of their alliance sparked unease among other factions within the Galactic Council. Some leaders saw their union as a direct threat to the status quo, prompting whispered conspiracies and covert machinations. One evening, as Elias and Vakar prepared for another diplomatic meeting, Elias noticed a shift in her demeanor. She stood by the viewport, gazing out at the swirling colors of a nearby nebula. her brow furrowed in thought. "The car, is everything all right?" he asked, stepping closer. She turned to him, her expression serious. "Elias, the tensions are rising. I sense a storm brewing within the council. They are not all pleased with our growing influence." Elias frowned, his heart heavy with concern. "We knew there would be resistance, but what are they planning?" The car shook her head, her golden eyes reflecting the light of the nebula. "I cannot say for certain, but I have heard whispers of a coalition forming against us. If they unite, they could threaten everything we've built." Elias felt a surge of determination. "Then we'll need to confront them. We can't allow fear and jealousy to dictate our future." As they arrived at the diplomatic chamber, the air was thick with tension. Representatives from various factions had gathered, and Elias could see the unease in their expressions. At the center of the room stood Yara, a prominent leader known for her fiery rhetoric against humanity. "Welcome, esteemed delegates," Yara began, her voice laced with condescension. "We are here to discuss the implications of the recent alliance between the Threxians and humans, an alliance that many believe threatens the very fabric of our galaxy." Elias exchanged a glance with Vakar, her jaw tightening in response to Yara's provocations. "We are not here to threaten anyone," Elias interjected, stepping forward. "We are here to build a better future for all our species." Yara sneered, her gaze cold. "You may call it unity, but many see it as a consolidation of power. We cannot allow this to continue unchecked." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Elias felt the weight of their scrutiny. "Our partnership is built on mutual respect and understanding," he continued, his voice firm. "It is a chance for all of us to learn from each other and to stand united against threats like the Cross Syndicate." "And what about the power you wield?" Yara pressed, her voice rising. "You have only recently proven yourselves in battle. What will happen when you decide to turn that power against us?" Vakar stepped forward, her presence commanding silence. "We have no desire to dominate. Our strength comes from our bond and our willingness to protect our peoples. I stand with Elias, and together we will fight for peace, not tyranny." The room was quiet, and for a moment, Elias sensed a flicker of hope. Perhaps they could sway some of the skeptics. "Then show us," Yara challenged, crossing her arms. "Prove that your alliance is not a threat, but a benefit to all species." Elias felt the challenge hanging in the air. "What do you propose?" Yara's lips curled into a smug smile. "A demonstration, a series of joint exercises. Let's see how well the Threxians and humans can work together under pressure. If you can succeed, I may reconsider my position." Vakar nodded, her resolve unwavering. "We accept your challenge." Elias could feel the tension in the room ease slightly, but he knew this was just the beginning. They would have to prove not only their competence but also their unity. In the days leading up to the exercises, Elias and Vakar worked tirelessly, coordinating their efforts to showcase their alliance. They set up a series of challenges designed to test their skills, adaptability, and teamwork. As they trained, Elias marveled at Vakar's strength and agility. She moved with a grace that belied her size, executing maneuvers that left him in awe. In turn, she was equally impressed by the human strategies he devised, blending technology and tactics in ways that seemed almost intuitive. "Your people have an impressive ability to adapt," Vakar remarked one evening as they practiced. "We must demonstrate this to the others." Elias grinned, his confidence growing. "Together, we'll show them what true strength looks like." The day of the joint exercises arrived, and representatives from across the galaxy gathered to witness the event. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and skepticism. Would Elias and Vakar succeed, or would this be the moment their alliance crumbled under pressure? As the exercises began, they showcased a series of challenges, from tactical simulations to physical competitions. Both humans and Threxians participated, displaying their unique skills and strategies. The first challenge involved a simulated boarding operation, with teams required to secure a mock enemy ship. Elias and Vakar led their respective teams, their bond evident in the way they communicated and coordinated their actions. They worked in perfect harmony, executing a series of complex maneuvers that left the audience in awe. As the challenges progressed, doubts began to dissipate. Even Yara, who had initially opposed their union, couldn't help but acknowledge their effectiveness. However, just as they reached the final exercise, a simulated combat scenario involving multiple factions, an unexpected threat emerged. As Elias and the car prepared their teams, alarms blared throughout the arena. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency distress signal," Sarah announced, her voice filled with urgency. "A Krell raiding party is attacking a nearby settlement."